Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are back, joined by Jim Ramsey. Excited to have him talk more about all of his marriage counseling services that he offers. James W. Ramsey, that is, Aletheia Marriage Counseling Services. He's back today to talk more about relationships. And we're talking about, for example, even like being married. How do you, what are the keys to success? And I would love to find out more about this, let alone so much more. Jim, tell us a little bit about your background for those new listeners out there.
Well, it's good to be back with you, Jill. My background has been kind of a combination of ministry and marriage counseling. I've pastored churches throughout my life, but most of my life I've been bivocational, where I mostly did marriage therapy as a professional marriage counselor, but then pastored a church on the side. But for the last 10 years, I'm strictly doing marriage work.
And how can we contact you?
You call me at 406-370-3515.
Perfect. And for today, we're going to get right into it and talk, obviously, about relationships, the trials, the tribulations. And I have some more questions to ask our expert here today, starting with, what are some of these keys to success, maybe, to have that lifelong happy marriage that can extend? I mean, even people been married 70 plus years. How many years have you been married?
56 years.
You're on your way. So you clearly must have some keys to success for us.
Well, research shows that married people live happier and healthier and live longer than single people. And the reason for that is we have such a need as human beings to be connected, to trust somebody and really be invested in a relationship or relationships. That's another thing. Being socially involved is highly related to longevity and health. But so the more you connect and the more you share and the more you help others and help a partner and they help you, all those kind of things keep you healthier and help you live longer.
Yeah. Well, what other things, what if someone doesn't have a partner or loses their partner, right? What are the keys, can you find love again? And make it last again? That's got to be a hard one when you're with someone for so long, but is it possible?
Yeah. Well, it certainly is. In my case, I think I mentioned to you at one point that after 46 years of marriage, I lost her in a car accident. Yeah. And then I'm married to a widow now that I've been married to for 10 years. She lost her husband to a heart attack after 42 years. So, yeah, you can find love again, but I chose not to get on the internet and start searching. I just said, God, if you want me to have a wife, you show me who it's going to be, and fine. If I don't, I don't. Within about 2 or 3 weeks, we met each other, and we knew each other from the past. It's just a dream wedding for us.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it's great to hear that love can be found at any stage in life, no matter what struggles and how hard you ever think it is that you're going through. Because, trust me, there's hardships out there. And then to find love again has got to be a beautiful thing. Let me ask you about, some of the physical, emotional, longevity benefits you mentioned to a happy, long marriage. Could you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. Heart-related things. Cardiovascular related things are much, much improved when you're married as when you're single. As well as emotion, you're much more prone to divorce, to being depressed. You're much more prone to being anxious. People commit suicide on a larger range that are single than married. It affects everything, really. It's a tremendous difference to being married or not married. But of course, you've got the other caveat of whether you're happy or not, which is really relevant. Obviously, if you're fighting all the time, your stress hormones are very damaged to your body, and you don't want to be doing that.
Oh, well, what about, those, I hear those studies. There was one about longer lasting love. Like, who's doing these types of studies out there? And are they really from Harvard and from serious institutions, or is it people who are married together think there's more benefits because they're living longer? Or is it scientifically proven?
Yes, there's a lot of studies. I just this past week looked, and there's just tons of studies on on the differences between single and married. One of the comments was the most successful people, ironically, are the men that have been happily married for a lifetime, especially compared to other men. A lot of higher, earlier deaths, injuries, diseases, suicide for men that are single.
Yep.
They're more fragile that way, even than women that are single.
Oh my goodness. Well, let me ask about love, relational skills. What factors can positively affect the marriage as well as a person's health and longevity?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that you need to have is security. And so to the degree that you know that you're loved and you're happy and you're comfortable and you laugh a lot and you talk a lot, that is humongous. But to the degree that you feel lonely or cut off or put down or invisible or not valued or less valued than everything else, those are the kinds of emotions that are very damaging to your body and your mind and every part of you. So it's a security factor.
Oh, gosh. Well, what about negative health and longevity effects of divorce? They say divorce is devastating for heart, body, and soul. What happens when you go through that process?
Well, the big problem are the stress hormones. They do a lot of damage, and they affect your immune system as well.
Uh-huh.
But
Wow.
you're everything in our body is fearfully and wondrously made. It's all so intricate, and so when you're a happy camper, and especially if you have an attitude of gratitude, I mean that has been researched a lot, and they're finding that if you genuinely look at the world with gratitude all the time, everything you see is better than this. It could have been worse. It could, you're always having gratitude. That has as much to do with your health and your longevity as diet and exercise combined. It actually is more powerful. You put those three together and then throw in a happy marriage, you've got all the things working for you. But
Oh,
there's a lot of things that can work against you if you don't.
all right. Well, I know a few people right now going through a divorce, right? And everyone has their side of the story, right? Who's right, who's wrong? Let me ask you about on the male side, being that you are a male and you've dealt with a lot of males and females too. Let's start with the men. What are some typical behaviors that you find that lead to divorce?
Well, I think that for a man, the biggest thing to realize is that women are not men. And women are, there's a whole radical segment of women, as you know, that are trying to convince us that they're men, but they're trying to be men, act every which way they can. But really, to be a woman that is happy to be a woman and really enjoys being a woman is the ideal. The same thing for a man, to be happy to be a male, and then to begin to accept the differences as complementary, as delightful and wonderful. But as long as you're trying to make them be like you're going to have conflict. And if they're on the other side trying to make you be like them, it just intensifies the conflict. We've got to really, as a men, you asked me specifically, what do men do? They've got to realize that their wife is affected more by nonverbal behavior than by the words they use. Actions speak louder than words for a woman. And it could be the action of a turned up lip or a furrowed brow, or it can be any kind of thing that they see. Your posture, you're looking around the room instead of looking at her. You're kind of showing, you look to her like you're impatient or I want out of here. I'm sick of this. She reads all kinds of things that you may not even realize that you're putting out and maybe don't even consciously feel. But if you're going to be a successful male, you've got to learn how to get on her wavelength, focus on how she sees things and how she feels, not so that you can comfort her, so that she can feel safe and secure and know that she's loved. See, that's the reason you want to focus on nonverbals with women, because they are really focusing on nonverbals with you. So be careful what you're transmitting and watch what she's transmitting and be sensitive.
Well, yeah,
So that's my
let's
input
talk
for
about the
that.
female behaviors that could lead to divorce. Go ahead.
Well, I think the female side of it is to realize that he's not you. He's not as prone to notice all the little idiosyncrasies, the little innuendos, little subtleties that you may feel like I'm a open book. He can see that I'm upset, or he can see this, or he should know this, or that women always think we should know more than we do. But the point is, they're picking up more data than we are, and they think we should see this obvious data that they see. And so wives realize, no, unless he's training to build his EQ, which every husband should. If he's an average guy that hasn't done much with EQ, he's oblivious. And it's not that he doesn't care, it's just he's oblivious. Then you got to help him and ask for what you want. Even though it may feel weird to ask for what you want, he should know, but no, he doesn't know.
Well, yeah, it's that whole man from Mars, woman from Venus thing. A man and women, just two different creatures and species, but we love each other. Opposites attract, obviously,
Yes.
right? So,
Yes.
what do you recommend, though? Just as a female and a male who are going to be together, getting married with counseling, how do you understand that the other person's different, and we need to understand that? What are some of the things you could do as a counselor?
Well, as a counselor, that's what I really do is help them get on each other's wavelength. Help them to be clear about what they're seeing and what they're hearing. For example, I'm married to a woman and she likes Hallmark movies. Well, I'm a relational therapist, so I'm okay with Hallmark movies too. But you'll notice that there's a common thread there. Even if the love is going really well, there's a clinker that hits 2/3 of the way through where one of them misunderstands the other because they think they're going to go back to their old job or they go back to their old boyfriend. They think that, but it's not happening. And so we have this bump in the road where one of them misunderstands the other or they both misunderstand each other. That is classic in all marriages. If you can get rid of the misunderstandings, you won't have breakups, you won't have old traumas. And so the key is to check out what affects you adversely. If it's freaking you out or even if it's making you feel uncomfortable, check it out and say, could you tell me more? Or I don't think you meant it that way, but it sounds like. And that sounds so basic, but man, that is basic. That's fundamental. Otherwise, you're reacting to stuff that isn't even going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
For a woman, for example, to react to a man that doesn't say much means he doesn't care. What? Ask him if he cares. You can't assume just because somebody's quiet that they don't want to talk or that they're mad or who knows what. You read what you see and then check out what's going on. That's the best way, rather than to react.
Well, what would you say are some primary behaviors of both marriage partners that keep a marriage together?
Well, the main thing is to always assume the best and make sure your partner knows beyond a shadow of a doubt by your behavior that there's no person, thing, or activity more important to you than they are. And then if anything hits you wrong, ask them to tell you more. Be curious instead of defensive. Be curious and compassionate. Let them explain. Or if you want to be straight up, you can say, look, I don't think you mean it this way, but it sounds like you think I'm really irresponsible. Okay, she'll say yes or no. Most often, 90-some%, she'll say, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I'm thinking. And then you don't have to be upset and have this big drama here like they do in the relational flicks,
Exactly. I do love those Hallmark movies. I do. Guilty. And tis the season that they're all coming out now. I just saw an advertisement for one on Lifetime the other day. I love, well, not just Hallmark, but it could be Lifetime too. So what else would you say are some warning signs that maybe your marriage is in trouble and is going to fail? What are some of the things that start happening?
Well, those things are really, really obvious. But, the thing is, people need to realize they are going to cause destruction if you don't do something, So if you're noticing that your partner seems preoccupied and doesn't seem to want to talk to you, that's a big sign. If they basically are short with you or they're kind of closed up, don't want to say any more than you make them say, or they don't want to do things anymore. They don't want to go places anymore, or they're constantly into a book or the media and they just don't seem to have interest in anything else. Those are all bad signs for their well-being, but it's also a bad sign for your relationship because you need to be helping each other with whatever's going on. Maybe there's some stresses outside the relationship that's causing that. But we've got to get to the bottom. What is going on? Is it us? Is it something else? Again, talk, listen, talk, listen. And you got to have time to do that.
Yeah,
You got to sit down
the
sometime.
time, right?
Yeah, make the time because it's critically important. We're living in a culturally unhealthy time right now, and relationships are being really adversely affected by the hustle and bustle and all the pressures that are going on. We need to slow down and talk to each other, look in each other's eyeballs, and check out what's going on.
Yeah. Well, what would you say some of the primary behaviors that a man needs to focus on to be successful in a marriage?
Well, I think that we by nature want to take care of the girl, and we want to take care of our family. We want that responsibility. We want to be good at it. But you got to know how. And the man thinks the big thing is make enough money. Well, that's not necessarily, because you can damage the relationship a lot by making a lot of money and not giving your wife the attention and support she needs, or the kids the attention and support they need. So you've got to understand that for a woman, what they want is your attention, your love, you're paying attention to what she's feeling and needing. You're curious, you're compassionate. That's the stuff that women really, really love, and that makes them feel safe. He's taking care of me emotionally. Now, the other parts are important, but some guys don't take care of their wives at all emotionally, but they're getting them clothes, they're getting them chocolates, or all this stuff, and then they're mad, because the wife isn't responding sexually or to this or that. Well, a mad husband that isn't giving her the basic things she needs is a really bad combination for a wife. So you don't want to be mad, you want to be tuned into her
And
in a way that's healthy, not like you're a wuss and you're just walking around and trying to serve, but you just being a really caregiving male is the key here.
well, also, what about females on, the wife's side? What are the primary behaviors that a wife needs to focus on during to have a successful marriage, I should say?
Well, I think men want a companion. They want somebody that's responsive to them, somebody that respects them and admires them and appreciates them. Sometimes it's almost embarrassing how much men want to be thanked and want to be approved, but it's really important because they're trying to perform, they're trying to do. And so for you to notice that helps. But of course, women need the same thing. But I think the big thing with men is tell them what you need so they can give you what you need, and then you can be happy. But if you're always angry because you're not getting what you need, then that compounds the problem.
So, what if you tell them what you need and you still don't get it?
Well, now there's telling and then there's telling.
Okay, you explained that one. Go ahead.
If a woman kind of comes on nagging and kind of pushy and on his case, that's not going to probably get a good response. But if a woman asks and just sweetly asks, honey, I really would like it if we could do this or that, or could you do this for me, or it would really make me happy if any of those kinds of initiations would be responded to better than any kind of thing where you're annoyed or you're emotional or you're mad or you're demanding or you're impatient. Those kinds of feelings kind of turn a guy off, because sometimes guys are a lot more sensitive than you
Yeah.
think they are to start with. And that just compounds it.
Really? So, are men more sensitive than women, or just in general?
In
You're
some
saying?
ways they are. I think in some ways they are, because
Really?
they don't let you know what's going on. They're just, well, they can through anger and stuff, but they're not going to tell you what they feel as likely. They're going to have behaviors. If you know what you're looking for, you can see it, but it's not going to be directly talking to you about what they feel and what they're needing, and talk about their hearts or their emotions. Men shy away from that, but they can learn to do it, and that's part of what bonds a man and a woman, is both of you being able to be really open and transparent about your feelings and needs. The
Got
more
it.
you can both do that, the better.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much. Also, I want to ask, excuse me for my nose, what are the behaviors would you say that a husband and wife need to focus on when the babies come?
Well, the big thing is they got to focus on is the baby. They got to know that from the beginning. We are going to
Yeah.
take care of this baby, and that's going to be hard for a while. It's going to take away from our time together, and it's going to take away from our energy and our libido, and it's going to be a focus for a while. And we got it. And third party ideally tells them that. If the husband says that to her or she says that to him, it's harder. But if there's somebody that they both respect that says, this baby thing is wonderful, but it's got some big challenges to it. And if you handle it right, you're going to be very proud of yourself. The baby's going to do well. You're all going to do well. You're going to come out of the little early stage there everything's going to get easier. But you got to face it. Otherwise, you're going to have conflict and vicious circles.
Got it. And what usually happens? From what I know, from what I've seen, a lot of times the man also gets a little jealous that the mother is taking on a whole new role. How do you help the guy in that situation?
Well, we just have to talk about it. He is prone to being jealous of the child and resentful that she's giving the child so much time and attention. Whatever happened to my girlfriend, now I got a baby and a mom taking care of the baby, and I'm out working, So even when you have children, even young children, make sure you have some time to talk a little bit, hold hands with each other, hug each other, thank each other, but mainly focus on the kid together. If he's focusing on other things and she's focusing on the child, then it feels to him like the child's everything.
Yeah.
But the part of it is he's not making much room for the child himself. So she overcompensates. So the more they can do it together, the better.
Got it. And let's talk about marriage. And you mentioned you've been married for quite some time. And a lot of your clients, do people that or have been married a long time come in for counseling? Is that also a key to success?
Yeah, I have seen people at the early stages, mid stages, and later stages. Half all the divorces happen before the 7th year, so I see a fair number of people before marriage 7. Midline, they're all stressed out for taking care of kids and working their tails off, and a lot of times things are going sour during that time. But it's exciting, it's busy, so they kind of do everything and they survive. But once the kids come out of the picture, then they look at each other and say, where are we going from here?
Yeah.
And some couples haven't really prepared for that. And they've gotten into being just partners and not lovers, and they're not courting each other. There's no real chemistry much between them. They just do their jobs and take care of kids. And they have to come out and reschedule and reformat the relationship. So I see a lot of people at midlife coming for counseling. And it's really effective because I can say, look, you've done the hard work. Now you get to enjoy the benefits. Let's fine tune this thing. And we can, and we do. And it really makes a big difference.
Beautiful. Well, how did you want to leave off for today, Jim? What would you like to say to to your listeners and viewers?
Well, I would say that there's nothing more precious in human life than having a partner that you just really, really love each other, and you have children, you love the children, and you have grandchildren, you love your grandchildren. You're connected. You have a family. And to do that requires some commitment, some skills. And so if you really want a fulfilled life and you want to live a long time and be healthy, you need to have a healthy marriage. And you need to have happy children and a happy wife and a happy, successful husband. So I can't think of anything other than your relationship with God, of course, is that's the most important. But we've got to really focus on our human relationships. And by the way, having a relationship with God helps us to be better in our human relationships, because it's the source of love. He helps you have the kind of love you need to really have a good marriage.
Beautifully said. Well, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we are out of time, Jim. How can we contact you?
Well, just call me on my phone, 406-370-3515.
Perfect.
Love to talk with you.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being here, for joining us. And we'll be back again next week. And looking forward to it. Thank you for all your advice always. You're a great friend. And he's so insightful. Each and every week we have so much to talk about. Thank you again, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.